Hello and welcome to the Team Afterburn Studios. I'm Phil and we are filming the workout of the today. Today is resistance, guys. Again, if you want to capitalize on these workouts, you need to make sure that you're trying to challenge yourself every time you see the repeated workout, because you are making progress in these workouts. Your body will adapt anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks. So you want to make sure that you, during that adaptation period, you're really challenging yourself. So every time you see it, try to push just a little bit harder, okay? So today's workout, you have 6 exercises. You have 3 rounds, and we're doing right side, left side, round 1, right side, left side, round 2, right side, left side, round 3. So you're going to stay on that exercise for 3 rounds, and we move to the next exercise. The real key here is to make sure that you're challenging yourself. If you are changing your weight, if you're varying your load, round 1 is your movement pattern. Round 2 is where you test that movement pattern. That's where it gets very difficult. Round 3 is going to be your heaviest round. If you're not varying your weight, you want a weight that's so heavy that, or heavy enough to really challenge you in round 3. It should be very, very uncomfortable by round 3 and you should barely be able to finish it. Okay, with that said, your first exercise is the single leg deadlift. Now the single leg deadlift, my recommendations, we have a few options here. We got a lot of options, so it depends on which one works best for you. But the suitcases work really good because it allows you to add a lot of load. You're a lot stronger on this exercise than you think. You're going to be coming down, shoulders down and back, come up, squeeze that glute. Now, if you have a balance issue, just put this foot down. Keep it down the entire time to help balance you. You keep the load in the front foot, but it still allows you to stay balanced and work that one particular leg. Okay, now again, you have options here. You also have a backpack, and the same concept goes with the backpack. So if you need to add more load, you can use the suitcases and the backpack. Again, you're a lot stronger than you think you are. Come down. This gets you a little bit better range of motion. Squeeze the glutes as you come up, and if you need to put that foot down, you can put that foot down. Then you also have the ability to add even a little bit more load, so you add that rubber band, or if you just have a rubber band, you can do it without the backpack or the suitcases. You just come up, squeeze that glute. That really allows you to get a lot of load into those glutes. And I really love the rubber band because it gives you a lot of variation in the load and allows you to change the load very quickly. Next is going to be the wall incline press. On the wall incline press, you always want your elbow below your shoulder. You never want it higher than your shoulder, and your arms are perpendicular to the wall or the ground or whatever it is that you're pushing against. So you're going to come here. The closer you are to the wall, the easier this is going to be. The further away from that wall, the harder this is going to be, but make sure you keep that elbow down. Don't let that elbow rise up. Then you're going to have the single leg. You either have the paper plate hold or a curl, or you're going to have a bridge. So your options here are down on the ground. You can keep one leg on the ground. If it's too much, you can always keep that one leg on the ground. The goal here is to get that other leg off. Then if you really want to challenge yourself, get those hips all the way up. When you curl back, don't let them sag. Now, if that's too much, you can always do the bridge, or you can do the hip thrust or you can do the bridge where you're holding it up in this position. The key here is to get those hips completely full aligned. Okay, so those are some of your options here. Remember, you can always put that other leg down to help offset some of the weight on that one leg. Then you have the staggered push-ups. Staggered push-ups. Think of one as a tricep push-up and one as a wide push-up. So, arm out wide here. You can go on your knees. The higher your hips are, the easier this is going to be. Once you start dropping those hips down, the harder it's going to be. And then, of course, you can go to your toes. Again, notice I'm coming down. My elbow is tight to my body. This one is outside my body, but my elbow is always lower than my shoulder, and I'm perpendicular to the ground. Then, last but not least, you have your step-ups. Now the step-ups, you have a few options. Once again, you can grab the suitcases, you can do the backpack. I highly recommend starting off with the backpack. That puts you in a really good position as far as form goes. Then if you want to continue to add weight, you can you can add the suitcases, or you can add a rubber band to the step, and I'll show you how to do that one as well. You're just pushing through the heel. Come up if you can, raise that leg because that pushes your hips forward, engages the glutes a little bit better. But if balance is an issue, just come up, tap, push that hip forward, squeeze that glute as hard as you can, back down. Okay, now the other option, again, you can always add the backpack, or if you have a stool that You can put a rubber band underneath. You can do the same exercise. Again, push straight up, back down, straight up. Really squeeze that glute as you come up. This adds a lot more intensity, and it gives you the most amount of load at the top of the movement up here where you're strongest when you're really engaging that glute. So I really like the rubber band, and you don't really have to add too much more to that. All right, then you're going to have the last one is going to be the fly. Single arm push-up fly. So here, you're in a push-up position. Again, hips high. If this is challenging, keep the hips high. If you want a little bit more of a challenge, you're going to bring those hips lower, and then you can always come on your toes. But notice my one arm is a normal push-up, and this one comes out to a fly. Now, what you'll see is if you really have a hard time with this, is you'll turn it into a push-up like this. And again, it's okay, but the further you get that arm out there, the more you're going to get activation in that chest. All right, those are the exercises. Let's go ahead and introduce our participant for today, our very own drunken gypsy, Melly Mel. There's the drunken gypsy right there. There it is. There it is. And so you know what she looks like when she drinks. All right, guys. When what? And what she's not drinking yet. It's all good. All right, guys, down on the floor. Lay down, one leg comes up and over. We're starting with line side rotation, so one leg comes up and over. Opposite elbow, opposite knee. Take that knee all the way over. Your goal here is to get this knee, that shoulder on the ground. Now, again, if you have somebody that can help you, pushing down the shoulder and the knee at the same time, that's going to be very good. You just have to be very careful. Don't have anybody jump on you. It's a gentle push down, okay, and allow yourself to get deeper and deeper into the stretch. Again, the key here is not how flexible you are, but it's how much progress you're making throughout the month. Go ahead and switch the other side. What we're looking for is progress. If you're progressing in these stretches, then you're doing a very good job, okay? You want to make sure that you're looking at this opposite hand. So the one that's extended out, look at that opposite hand so you can get that full rotation in that spine. Trying to get as much rotation as we possibly can. And that goes all the way from the cervical all the way down thoracic spine. Beautiful. All right,
3,
go ahead and sit up.
2,
one leg is straight, the other
1.
heel is in the groin. Reach out, grab that foot, the ball of your foot, pull back. Now, if you can only grab the top of your foot, that's okay. What we're trying to do is pull back on that foot. Now, the reason that we want to do that is so that we can get a stretch in that calf. If you can't reach that foot, you can always take like a rubber band or a towel. Keep this foot straight up and pull back as far as you can. That's going to give you the stretch in the calf. You're also going to get a better stretch in the hamstring. Switch to the other side. So again, you don't have to use a rubber band. You can use a belt. You can use whatever. If you can't even reach your foot, that's the best way to go, right? So this side's a little bit tighter. When you guys notice some significant muscle imbalances, flexibility imbalances, work on it, okay? So MJ needs to work on this side probably just a little bit more than the other side. Spend some time working on it. Again, your goal is to get that nose to knee. May never be able to get there.
3,
that's okay.
2,
all right, go ahead and get in that
1.
kneeling position. This foot, this knee are as far apart as you can get, almost. Okay, drop your hips all the way down as far as you can, then add that rotation in. Your goal is to get these shoulders in line with that front leg there. If you can get that over rotation, even better. But get those hips as far forward as you can. You should feel it in this glute, and in this leg, you should feel it in the top of that back leg, which is going to be your hip flexor. You want a deeper stretch. You want to stretch in the quad, deeper in the hip flexor. Reach back, grab that foot, because that's what we're going to be doing next month. All right, switch to the other side. Remember which sides you did. Again, push those hips as far forward. That's really going to get you the stretch in that glute and those hip flexors. It opens those hips up. You want mobility in the hips. If you don't have mobility in the hips, one, you're risking pain and injury, and two, you're not going to get quite as good a workout because your range of motion is going to be limited.
3,
beautiful. All right, stand
2,
up or lay down.
1.
Grab that foot behind you, pull that heel into the glute, push your hips forward, and pull that knee back. So you want the knee to come back, you want the hips to come forward, just like that. Again, you want to make sure you're pushing those hips as far forward, pull that knee back so you can get that stretch in the quad. Switch to the other side. Again, if you have a balance issue, guys, remember, you can do this on the floor. You can lay down like we did last month and just do the quad stretch there. Again, effort, guys.
3,
You want to put
2,
some effort in. It should be
1.
uncomfortable. All right, now you're going to lock the arms, pull them up, pull them back, come down to one side. Each time you come down, you try to get a little bit deeper, keeping those arms locked and pulled back because we're working on posture, so make sure you have that good posture because we're reinforcing good posture. Switch to the other side. Last thing you want to do is reinforce poor posture. Beautiful. Again, try to get as deep as you can. We're trying to really
3,
open up those hips.
2.
All right, triangle
1.
pattern, diamond pattern, whatever you want to call it. You're going to hop in, out, in as you're moving forwards and backwards. Now, if you want a little bit more challenging, you can speed that up, obviously. Or if you really want to challenge yourself, you can do one leg at a time, just like this, and then just switch at the 15-second mark. Again, depends on where you are. But this is one of the easier patterns, so really focus on landing in those same spots because what we're trying to do is work on our coordination. And then as we
3,
progress, we get a little bit more complicated
2,
patterns, and then we go
1.
to single legs. All right, guys, jumping jacks, arms and legs. Now, unless you have a shoulder issue, if you have a shoulder issue, minimize the range of motion with the arms. If you do not have a shoulder issue, get those arms as far up as you can. Not only will it help warm up that shoulder joint, but you're also stretching out a lot of the ligaments, tendons, stretching out those lats, active stretches. We're also warming up the hips, the knees, the ankles. We're going to be utilizing all of these joints in today's workout in almost every workout
3,
for the most part.
2, 1.
All right, guys, we are ready to roll.
4, 3.
So get your backpacks. We're starting off with the single leg deadlift. Remember, you can keep this back foot on the ground to help stabilize yourself if you're having a balance problem. And a lot of times with the suitcases and stuff, because there's so much movement in it, this is a really good idea. But the key here is all the load is in the front leg. This is just here to stabilize you. Keep that back flat. Keep the shoulders down. Really concentrate on squeezing when you come up. That's the most important thing, is to squeeze when you come up. All right. Now we're going to switch to the other side. Take a little bit of a break here. We're switching to the other side. Again, the load's going to determine the intensity here, guys. If you're doing the
3,
proper amount of load, you're going to
2,
notice your heart rates are going to start to
1.
elevate. All right, switching to the other side. So if you're not varying the load, it needs to be a load that really challenges you. By the third round, it should be very, very difficult for you to finish this exercise if you have the load properly. If you don't have enough load, really concentrate on the movement and really concentrate on the activation of the muscle. So that means when you come up, really squeeze those glutes at the top of the movement. That would get a much better workout. All right, now we are going to switch to the backpack. So we're going to give you a lot of different options here. Same exercise, same exact exercise. You're just doing it with the backpack now. And then what we'll do is we'll add a little bit more load. And we're going to add a rubber band to that.
3, 2, 1.
Again, same movement. What I do like about the suitcase is it takes most of the load, puts it all the way up here. So it's a little bit more challenging. Now, if you really have a hard time balancing, you can always do both legs at the same time. But again, you need more load unless you have back issues. If you've got lower back issues, this bothers you, lighten the load and really concentrate on the movement and really concentrate on activating those muscles. All right, a little bit of a break here. We're going to switch to the other side. Now, when we do the rubber band, with the rubber band, you get as far down as you can. That way it gives you that tension
3,
all the way down
2,
and you have that full
1.
range of motion. All right, here we go. Again, squeeze those glutes, keep the shoulders down and back, keep that flat back. You don't want to be rounding that back. You want to make sure that back is flat, shoulders down and back, and really squeeze those, concentrate on contracting those glutes as hard as you can when you come up to the top of the movement. You should feel this right here. If you're not feeling it here, if you're feeling it here, slighten the load and really focus on the movement. You're also going to feel it in your hamstrings as well. All right, now we're going to intensify that just a little bit. This is our last round. And it's going to be our most intense round. So what we're doing is we're adding even more load. Again, the closer you get to that, or the less rubber band you have, the more intense it's going to be. You guys got 5 seconds. What I like about this is, once again, this is your weakest point. This is your strongest point. Okay? This is where the rubber band is at its most intense and has the most load. So when you come up, really squeeze those glutes when you come up. Concentrate on squeezing the glutes. Again, if you need to, just like Mel's doing here, keep that back foot on the ground to help balance yourself. You don't need to have that back foot come up. Especially if you're challenged with if you're having a hard time balancing and you don't get as much work because you're trying to keep yourself balanced. Now in time, ideally we want to balance ourselves, but you're going to have days where you're going to have better balance, days when you're going to have worse balance.
2.
All right, here we go.
1.
Left side. Again, notice how she has a slight bend in the knee. Even with that foot down, sometimes you'll have a hard time with that balance. So it's not that, again, it's not that big of a deal to keep that foot down, this back leg down there. But just remember, this is here for balance. You're not putting or transferring the load into that leg. You want all the load in this leg right here. And when you come up, you come all the way up and really concentrate on squeezing that glute at the top of that movement. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. She loves the backpack. Everybody loves the backpack. All right, now we are going to our single wall incline press. Now the wall incline press. If this is too much to do with a single arm, you can always do both arms. Okay, both arms are going to be significantly easier. Depends on where you are. If you're new, don't try to do single
3,
arm or step
2,
really close to the wall.
1.
Again, remember, round 1 is movement pattern. Just make sure that elbow is at least below the shoulder. And your arm right here is not coming way past that hand, because that's going to put a lot of stress on that elbow joint. Again, she's already started pretty far back, which is good. We can always throw a backpack on her if we want to add a little bit more load. If you want a little bit more load, we can always add a backpack. Here we go. We'll see how she's doing.
3.
And if we need to, we can always add more.
1.
Here we go. Left side. Again, movement pattern round 1. Round 1 is always movement pattern. We want to make sure that we're challenging ourselves, but we're not going so heavy that we can't manage that movement pattern. We're hyper focused on the movement pattern round 1. Then by round 2, we're really starting to load ourselves up. And round 3 is where it really gets difficult. All right, round 1 down. I think that was pretty good. We can always add a little bit more if we need to. But I think for right now, that's pretty good. We'll see how she does in this round. As long as she maintains that movement pattern, maybe we'll add a little bit more round, or a little bit more load. Remember, you don't have to go this far out. You stay, the closer you are, the easier it's going to be. And if you have to, do 2 arms. Okay, everybody's at a different level. Everybody's at a different place in their life and fitness level as well, and so you want to make sure that you're managing your fitness level. Make sure you get that hand far enough out so that you're not coming too far over with that elbow. Now, one thing that we'll probably have her do is I'm going to have her hold it in this low position here real quick. Hold it in that low position, so we're challenging ourselves a little bit more. So next round we'll probably add a little bit of load. All right, switching to the other side. Remember, guys, you want to challenge yourself. This should be uncomfortable at
3,
this point.
2, 1.
Here we go. Remember, you want to make sure that you're not compromising that movement pattern, but this is where it gets uncomfortable. I'm going to have her hold it down here in a second, not just yet. In a second here, I'm going to have her hold it at the very bottom so we can get a little bit more from this workout. All right, we're going to hold it down there. Hold it.
4, 3, 2.
Beautiful. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to add just a little bit of load. This is not real heavy. Don't need to add a lot of load to this particular exercise. Just make sure that backpack's tight. So all this does is add a little bit more load, especially at the ending point. So it's going to be easier as she pushes away, but it will be extremely hard once she gets closer to that wall. All right,
5,
here we go, guys.
4, 3, 2, 1.
This is where we should barely be able to finish. You want to make sure you have that full range of motion and really challenge yourself. This is where, again, if you pick the proper amount of load throughout this entire exercise with the proper distance, it's going to be very difficult. Because this is so easy, I'm going to have her hold it right there. Hold it back down.
5,
Hold it, hold it.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Beautiful. All right. Switching to the other side. She said it was so easy. It's okay. I'll make it up otherwise. Don't you worry. She's very good at
3,
shaking.
2,
She knows how to get that body
One.
to shake. All right, let's go. That's what drunken gypsies do. Again, you're not compromising your movement pattern. You never want to compromise your movement pattern, but this is where you really challenge yourself. You should barely be able to finish. Once again, because it was so easy, she's going to hold down the next rep here. Let's go. She's going to hold it down in this low position, which is really challenging. A little bit lower than that.
3, 2,
There we go.
1.
Now we challenged ourselves a little bit. All right. Now, this is where we start really challenging ourselves because you're warmed up by this point. Okay? So we can start adding more load. Your first couple of exercises, you're not going to go your heaviest on them, okay, especially if you're sore. But at this point, most of the soreness should be dissipated. We're doing the step-ups. We're going to
2,
utilize the back
1.
packs. Once again, remember, you can just tap that foot down. You don't have to raise the foot. If you can, raise the foot. But the most important thing is you maintain that balance. Again, push through the heels, squeeze the glute at the top of the movement. What you want to do is make sure you're pushing that hip forward and squeezing the glute. Remember, you don't have to raise that leg up. If you have a hard time balancing, just tap that leg on that step. All right, right side, round one, guys. Now we're switching to the other side. Again, what I like about the back or the suitcases is you really load the suitcases up.
3, 2,
We're going to give you several different
1.
variations here. Again, push through the heels. Now, the only downside to the backpacks is sometimes we maybe turn that step where it's lengthways. I don't like to do that, but that will avoid those backpacks hitting the steps. But it doesn't give you a lot of platform to work for. I prefer it on the wide side so that when you come up, if you need to put that foot down, you can. Beautiful. Now, suitcases rather, not backpacks. This is the backpack. All right, now that backpack is loaded up pretty good. It actually is probably more than both of these suitcases. Again, what I like about the backpack, you gotta be careful. You don't want to, when you start really overloading, it'll start to really pull you back, so you want to make sure you watch your balance. What I like about the backpack is it forces you in a little bit better position. So it's pulling back on you versus pulling down on you. So for people with lower back issues, this might be a better option than having weight here pulling you down. Again, squeeze that glute at the top of the movement. You really want to concentrate on squeezing that glute at the top of the movement. You're never taking that right foot off that bench. You keep it there the entire time. Beautiful. Remember, if you have a hard time balancing, just tap this leg down, okay? So come up, tap it at this top, or just set it down. Again, all the load's in this one leg.
3,
We're just helping stabilize
2,
ourselves. All right, here we go.
1.
Push through the heels, squeeze those glutes, guys. Everything we do is for the back of the legs. We're working the back of the legs. So you really want to concentrate on really squeezing those glutes at the top of the movement. That's where you're going to get more out of it. A lot of shaking going on. Again, squeeze the glutes at the top of the movement, guys. Really concentrate on squeezing those glutes.
3, 2, 1.
Beautiful. All right, now we're going to take the backpack off. We're going to try the rubber band. This is going to be a little bit harder to balance. You have to make sure that you keep pressure on that step the entire time. If you let the pressure off, that thing's going to come flying towards you. So do not take that front foot off that step. Here we go. Again, keep that chest up. This is a lot harder than you think it is. Push through the heels, squeeze the glutes, so push those hips forward, squeeze those glutes at the top of the movement. Again, keep that chest up. This is going to where it's going to have a tendency to pull down on you. Again, what I like about the rubber band is when you come up, the hardest part of this exercise is where you are the most strain, most load on this exercise is when you are at your strongest, which is at the very top of the movement. And that's because your leverage, you're almost straight up and down, right? Down here, you got a lot more leverage. So your leverage arm is a lot longer. So there's a lot more torque. So it's harder to get out of the
3,
hole. But once you
2,
get up, it's easier to really
1.
concentrate or contract. Again, you got to make sure that you keep that chest up. We're not trying to work our lower back. We're pushing through the heels, squeeze those glutes at the top of the movement. Concentrate on squeezing the glutes at the top of the movement. Beautiful. Again, pushing through the heels, guys. Everything we do, if you can't feel the glutes, lighten the load, concentrate on getting those glutes activated, then start increasing the load.
3, 2,
Beautiful.
1.
You like that one? That's challenging. That one is definitely challenging. All right, now we're going to go into the staggered push-up. We are done with our step. The staggered push-up. Your options here are going to be on the knees with the hips high or on the knees with the hips low. Remember, you're doing a regular wide stance and narrow. So it's like a tricep push-up here. This one is right next to your shoulder. Again, the lower those hips go, the more intense it's going to be. And if you want to intensify it a little bit more, then you get on your toes. If it's still too easy, then we throw the backpack on there. Throw the backpack, or you can throw a rubber band, put it around you, just like we do with normal push-ups. Beautiful. Again, notice how this elbow stays tight to the body. This one over here is out, but it's below the shoulder. It's not above the shoulder. Most important thing, do not take that elbow above the shoulder. Also notice she's got 90 degrees in this arm and 90 degrees in that arm. So she's not coming over the hand like this, right? Not like this. All right, we're switching to the other side. Here we go.
3, 2, 1.
Just make sure you switch, okay, guys? Make sure you remember what side you're working. But you notice this elbow is below the shoulder. You can go parallel or below. Prefer to see a little bit below. Also notice we're almost 90 degrees here. We're not coming very far over that hand. You do not want to come too far over the hand. That adds a lot of stress to the elbow joint. Same thing on this side, right? 90 degrees. She's not coming very far over that elbow. All right, round one down. Now, round two, what we're going to do is we're going to try it on our toes for at least a few reps, right? So you want to try to increase that intensity just a little bit. Again, by this point in time, you're pretty well warmed up. You've already done one full exercise on chest. So we're pretty well warmed up here. So now we need to start challenging ourselves. Here we go.
4, 3, 2.
Again, one arm is wide. Beautiful. What we're going to do is we're going to do as many as we can on our toes. Once we get to the point where we can no longer do it on our toes, then we're dropping our knees down. We're not going to stop, though, because it's time under tension. The most important thing is that we do not stop. Again, remember, keep that elbow as tight as you can. We're putting as much load into that chest as we possibly can into this tricep. So loads the tricep and the chest on that side. Beautiful. Beautiful job, guys. All right, we're switching arms. Take a little bit of a break, and then we're hitting again. Again, movement pattern. Round one is always movement pattern. No matter what you do, it's always a hyper focus on the movement pattern.
2,
Let's go.
1.
Round two is where we start really challenging ourselves. This is where it gets uncomfortable. This round determines what we can do in the last round. If we're able to do everything we should in this round, we want to always try to strive for just a little bit more in the next round, but never compromise that movement pattern. Beautiful. Again, make sure that those elbows don't go too far over those hands. You try to keep the elbows 90 degrees right above the hands. Beautiful.
1.
All right. Round two down. Round three, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to stay on our toes. Now, again, you guys might be on your knees already. Down with your hips down like this. Just start raising the hips up when it gets to be too much. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start on our toes. And then if we get to the point where we're failing, then we're going to drop to the knees. We're going to see how long we can go. Here we go.
2, 1.
The other way. There you go. You got to remember which side you did. Very important. You got to remember what side you started with. Otherwise, you're going to be doing the same muscles, or same side the entire time. Again, notice elbow is fairly right over that hand. Stays tight to the body. This one over here is wider.
4.
Beautiful.
3,
Beautiful
2,
job. All right.
1.
Switching hands or arms, whatever you want to call it. All right, guys, this is where you really want to challenge yourself. Now, we should have added a little bit of load to MJ because she can handle it, obviously. Although, this is pretty good. She's
3,
right at that breaking point.
2, 1.
Here we go. She's not compromising your movement pattern, but I can tell this is really challenging. Beautiful. But again, if you need to, you can throw that backpack on there because, really tighten it down so it stabilizes, so it's not moving all over the place. And try not to drop that head too much when you come down. 5 more seconds. Now, if we want to increase it, you're going to hold it down at the bottom. You're going to hold it until the very end. Hold. Okay, we're done. All right. Now, we're heading into our leg curls, single leg curls. Remember, if it's too much, because this is a challenging exercise, guys, especially if you're new. You can get 2 paper plates, or more so, what you're going to do is you're going to put one leg down. So if you're doing the paper plates, you're going to have one leg down. This leg is going back and forth, and what that does is that helps support this leg. So you put as much load onto the leg that's moving as you can and take up what you need on this side. Now, if you'll notice, MJ is keeping those hips fairly straight. What we want to do is, because she has enough strength and if she's helping support herself, I want to see these hips as high as possible. And the reason is because what that's going to do is that's going to engage those glutes. So when she's really getting those hips high, really engaging the glutes, and she's going to work both glutes on this one. All right, we're switching to the other side. So if you're helping support yourself with the glute or with the leg that's on the ground, you're going to start to notice that glute's going to start firing up. And what's going to happen is you're going to start feeling
3,
more in the hamstring on the leg.
1.
Here we go. We said no. No to that one. Again, hips go as high as you possibly can. What we want to try to do is remove that bend in the hips so that we keep those glutes really, really activated there, guys. Again, you want to put as much load in this leg as you possibly can. And we want those hips higher.
4, 3, 2.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, round 1, guys. Round 2. Again, so what we want to try to do is you want to try to add a little bit more load, which means take up less load on this leg, put more of the load in the other leg. Again, round 2 coming up. Round 1, movement pattern. You want to make sure that movement pattern is perfect before you really start to overload that muscle or that pattern. Here we go. Now, round 2, leg comes up. The further this leg is back, the harder it's going to be. The further it's up here. So if you're really struggling, bring this leg further back. That's going to put more of the load in the shoulders versus in that leg. Again, this is very challenging. Now, if that's even too easy, then you notice how she has a bend in those hips. You want those hips straight the entire time. Very challenging exercise, guys. Yes, very, very challenging. Again, you want to try to get those hips up as high as you can. Most of us are not going to be able to maintain that
3,
hip integrity there.
2,
You're going to have that bend
1.
because it's just so hard to do. Again, remember, keep this leg further back. The further back you keep this leg, the more you transfer the weight into the shoulders versus the leg. Beautiful. Again, you really want to challenge yourself, you keep those hips very high. Now remember, you can also do a hip thrust or a bridge here, but if you can't do this particular movement, put that foot down so that helps take up some of the load on this leg. Very nice, guys, very nice. Again, that was very challenging. You can tell that was very challenging. How was it in the last one? Then we keep it very challenging. Yeah. She was wanting to know how we were going to do it for the 3rd round, and the reality is that it was so intense when she did it last time was we're going to try to keep it there and not compromise that movement pattern too much. Again, you're noticing that once she pulls it back, her hips do drop, and that's okay, right? It's what you got to do to get it back. She's still off the ground, so she doesn't drop her hips all the way to the ground. If you can't pull it back at all, put this foot down, take up some of the load so that you can get that full contraction in that hamstring and in that glute. And when you come back, pull those hips up as high as you can to get that full contraction in that glute. So notice how she pulls the hips up. I mean, a little bit staggered there. You know, we got a little bit of sticking points there, but at the very end, pull the hips up, squeeze those glutes, then extend out. And if you need to drop the hips a little bit to get the actual movement, that's okay.
3,
Here we go.
2, 1.
Beautiful, guys. Again, you want to make sure you're feeling this in the glutes and the hamstrings. If you're feeling it in the lower back, put the other leg down. If you still feel it in the lower back, you got to modify it, okay? We're not trying to make pain on the lower back. Anytime we're working this side, it involves the lower back. If we start getting more lower back, then you're defeating the purpose.
5, 4, 3.
Beautiful job, guys. Beautiful job. All right. Well, unfortunately, you get to use it again. But not for legs this time. Remember, we're doing the push-up fly. Keep in mind, hips stay high, you come out, a regular push-up, and this arm has a slight bend in it, okay? You want a little bit more, once again, hips go down. You want more, then you're on your toes. That is very challenging to do. We have the paper plate. Now, if you have access to a roller, you can also use a roller. Roller is going to be a little bit easier, ironically, because you don't have that friction coming back, fighting that friction coming back. Beautiful. Nice. Now notice how she keeps her arm all the way out there. Try to maintain that core integrity. Try not to let your body twist. Again, it may, just because this is a very difficult exercise. Remember, you can always raise those hips. Beautiful job, guys. If that's too much, you can always raise the hips, or you can do a staggered push-up. Okay, you don't have to do the paper plate. Now the paper plate's going to add a lot more intensity to that pec muscle because of the movement, your extension. You get a lot longer extension, more extension on that pec, and a lot better contraction when you come up, especially when you're pulling against against the friction there of that paper plate. Beautiful. Again, but remember, if you need to, raise the hips up a little bit. Again, if that's too easy, drop the hips, go on your toes, add more load. I don't think most of us are going to need that, because this is a very difficult, challenging exercise. Round one down. Remember, it's all about that movement pattern. If you don't have the movement pattern, downgrade, then work on the movement pattern, and then over time start increasing the intensity. But you don't want to compromise that movement pattern, especially in round one. It's all, you're hyper-focused on the movement pattern. Beautiful. All right, round two coming up, guys. Oh, well, thank you. You're doing a great job too. She just said I was doing a great job. Again, arm all the way out. Now you don't want to lock out that elbow joint. Never lock out that elbow joint. You don't want to compromise the elbow joint. Plus, it puts too much strain on that entire system there, that connect system. So you want to make sure you have a slight bend in that arm. Now, what will happen, like I was telling you before, is you'll notice you'll come out just slightly, and that's okay. If you need to minimize that range of motion because it's so difficult, do that. Beautiful. All right. Again, if you can only go this far out and then come down and then bring it back up, that's okay, because you're still getting that contraction, that really intense contraction on that chest. Everybody's at a different level, guys. You have to do what works for you. Just make sure you're challenging yourself. Let's go. Very nice. Again, that arm comes out as far as you can go without locking. You don't want to lock out that elbow joint, which is not doing. A nice bend in there. Beautiful range of motion. Try to stabilize that core, your spine, everything. Try not to add that twisting. You'll notice she kind of twists when she comes up a little bit.
5, 4, 3.
All right, beautiful. Beautiful. Round two down. Round three coming up. Our last round. Again, depending on what you did in the last round, you either downgrade or upgrade the intensity of this exercise. This is our last exercise, guys. This is our finale right here. Make sure you're challenging yourself. Don't compromise the movement pattern. We don't want to risk injury, but we got to really challenge ourselves. Here we go.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Again, full extension on that one arm. This one stays bent. Notice that we're not coming over. Notice that we're 90 degrees on that arm right there. We're not coming over. That elbow's not coming way over that hand, because that puts a lot of stress on that elbow joint. Here we go. Now, what we're going to do is this time she's going to go out and she's going to hold it out there. Hold it in that low position. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Hold it, hold it, hold it, because we had to make it just a little bit more challenging. I don't remember saying come up yet, but that's okay. All right, switch sides, guys. Switch sides. Again, this is our last round, guys. This should be our hardest round. Whether you increase the intensity or decrease the intensity, it should still be your hardest round, because you are fatigued at this point. We are coming to the end of this workout. Last round, last exercise, guys. Make sure you're challenging yourself. Again, get that full extension. And then I'm going to have her hold it out there. When I tell her she's going to hold it out there, you try to do the same. You only got 10 more seconds. Here we go. Let's go and hold it out there now. Hold it out there as long as you can. We got only 5 seconds. 3 seconds. Do not stop. Come on, guys. All the way to the end. Now you can clap. All right, guys. Beautiful job. That was awesome. Now, this is what we're going to be doing. We got a few options here. You are going to be doing a single leg or hip thrust, just like this, or you're going to do the bridge where you're holding it up like that. Or if you really want to challenge yourself, you can utilize the paper plates, do the same thing, because what's going to happen there is you're going to have to keep this contracted the entire time in order for this not to push out. That will ensure that you're not using your quads. So you got a few options there. Plus, we're also going to increase the intensity, because this is our finishing circuit. We're not going to do it round one, but we will add that rubber band. If you have access to the rubber band, you can put the rubber band on, which will add a little bit more intensity to those glutes. All right, so lay down.
3.
One leg is on the ground.
2,
the other leg is out. We want to get that leg. There we go. So now the key here is keep these hips as high as we can. We want to get that hip alignment there because that gets us that full contraction in the glute. Okay, now everybody's a little bit different. What we're trying to do is make sure that we're utilizing the glute and not pushing away with this leg right here. All right, we're not going to stop. We're going right into the other leg. So we go right into that other leg. We don't take any type of a rest here whatsoever. Not yet. I will give you a rest here after you're done with the other side. Again, notice hips and alignment there. You want to make sure that those hips are fully in line. That gets that full engagement of the glutes. You're also going to be getting those hamstrings involved as well if you're pulling back. You want to make sure you're pulling back and not pushing away because that's going to get you more glute involved. All right, now this round, we're going to put the rubber band on. I need both feet. Yeah, both feet. What do you think we're going to do here?
3, 2.
All right, now, one foot is up. This leg is going to go out. We're going to take that leg out so that we're activating those glutes even more. Again, hip alignment. So we want to make sure that those hips are fully aligned. Again, we're pulling back the heel here so that we're not utilizing too much quads. Now, when we switch, we're not putting those hips down. We're simply switching legs. Here we go. Keep the legs wide so those glutes are completely engaged. Remember, the wider you go, as wide as you can go so you really get those glutes engaged. Keep those hips as high as you possibly can, guys. We got this. Come on. Keep them high. Don't let those hips sag. Now, if you're dying, if you're really dying, you can drop those hips, come back up again. But you want to get that hip alignment so you get that full contraction in those glutes. Remember, pull back with this leg. Don't push away. All right, round one down. Now, between round 3 and 4, we're not going to take a break. We're going to put both feet up. We're going to keep our legs a little bit wider.
3, 2.
All right, here we go.
1.
Remember, we're switching legs. Get that hip completely aligned. The more you get that hip, higher you get those hips, the more you engage those glutes, the more activation you get in those glutes. Make sure you're keeping this leg out. Again, if you're using a rubber band, try to get that leg out as much as you can so you get those glutes really fired up. Now, in 5 seconds, you guys are going to switch. You're not going to put that butt down. That butt's not going to touch the ground. You're simply going to put that leg down, lift this leg up, and make sure that we get that integrity of pulling those legs apart there. Keeping that hip completely in line and really activating those glutes. Make sure you're squeezing the glutes. Now, granted, guys, this is the most intense version. You don't need the rubber band. You don't have to maintain that position. You can drop the hips, come back up and do the hip thrust where you're just coming back down and up again. Now, because we're going to show you just how intense this is going to be, we're going to keep our hips up. We want to still hit that hip alignment, so we're going to go a little bit higher right there. That's where we want those hips alignment. Now, once we start the next round, all we're going to do is raise that one leg. Keep those hips as high as you possibly can. Keep those glutes engaged.
3,
this is where
2,
it goes intense.
1.
All right. Back to that other side. Beautiful. Remember, we're keeping those hips as high as we possibly can here, guys. As high as we possibly can. We got this. Only a few more seconds. Come on, guys. Make sure that we're not dropping those hips. Beautiful job. All right. Leg goes down. The other leg comes up. Nice job, guys. Nice job. Keep those hips completely alignment. Completely aligned. You are right there. We are almost at the finish line here. We are right there at the finish line. You guys have 15 more seconds. We can do this. 10 more seconds. Come on, guys. Don't let those hips drop. And then we're going to flip over and go right into a dive bomb push or right to a regular or hold, push-up hold. All right, flip over. Here we go. Right into the push-up hold. You don't have to have that rubber band. Okay, we're holding it in the upright position. As soon as I tell you, you're going to hold it in that low position. All right, let's go down to that low position. Low position right now. Hold it in that low position as long as you can. Maintain that low position. Let's do this. Come on, guys. We got this. This is our last exercise. Can we get just a little bit lower? Just a little bit lower. We got this, guys. Hold it just a little bit lower. 1 inch lower right there, but don't drop to the ground. Not yet. Come on. We're almost there, guys. Don't stop. Don't give up. Come on. We got this. Hold it down low. Hold it down low. Just a little bit longer. We're right there.
1.
Very nice. Awesome job, guys. Awesome job.